You wake at 3 in the morning. The ceiling is familiar now. You've been staring at it for weeks. Your mind runs the same circuits it ran yesterday and the day before. What they said, what might happen, what you should have done differently. The weight of it sits on your chest like stone. And somewhere in that darkness, a question forms, one that humans have asked for thousands of years. What part of this is actually mine to carry? Nearly 2,000 years ago, a man born into slavery in the Roman Empire asked the same question. His name was Epictetus. He had been property, literally owned by another human being. He walked with a limp, some say from a leg broken by his master. And yet this man, who had every reason to rage against the unfairness of existence, discovered something that would echo through centuries. He found the boundary, the line between what crushes us and what frees us. Not a line drawn by circumstance or luck or the gods, but one that exists within our own minds, waiting to be seen. Tonight, we trace that line together. Epictetus opened his handbook, the Enchiridion, with words that changed everything. Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever is of our own doing. Not within our power are our body, our property, reputation, office, and, in a word, whatever is not of our own doing. Read that again in your mind. Let it settle. He's not offering comfort. He's offering a surgical tool, a way to cut through the fog of anxiety and reach something solid. Most of what torments us, the opinions of others, the state of our health, whether we get the job, whether they love us back, whether the world cooperates with our plans, none of it is truly ours. We influence these things, we participate in them, but we do not control them. What is ours? Our judgments, our intentions, our responses, the meaning we assign to what happens. This is not pessimism. This is liberation. Because everything that is truly yours cannot be taken from you, cannot be damaged by others, cannot be touched by circumstance. You simply have to learn to see it. Consider your body. You can feed it well, you can move it, you can rest it, but you cannot will away illness. You cannot command your cells to remain young. You cannot decide that injury will not find you. Your body is alone, not a possession. Consider your reputation. You can act with integrity every day of your life and still be misunderstood, still be slandered, still be forgotten. What others think of you is formed in their minds, not yours. You cannot reach into their consciousness and arrange the furniture. Consider your career, your relationships, the economy, the weather, the past. All of it, every single piece, lies outside the circle of your power. Epictetus put it bluntly, what disturbs men's minds is not events, but their judgments on events. Your flight gets cancelled. That is an event. Your rage, your catastrophizing, your conviction that the universe is against you, that is your judgment. The event cannot touch you. Only your judgment can. This is not about pretending not to care. It is about seeing clearly where your actual power lies and refusing to spend your life grasping at shadows. So what remains? Everything that matters. Your opinion. Not what happens, but what you decide it means. When Epictetus was a slave, he could not choose his circumstances, but he could choose how to understand them. Your motivation. The direction of your will. What you reach toward. What you commit to. Even in chains, you choose what to value. Your desire and aversion. What you want and what you flee from. Most suffering comes from desiring what is not in our power and fearing what is not in our power. Redirect these forces toward what is yours, and you become unshakable. Make the best use of what is in your power, Epictetus taught, and take the rest as it happens. This is not passivity. This is the most radical form of action, because it concentrates all your energy on the one place where energy produces results. You cannot control whether they hire you, but you can control how prepared you are, how honestly you present yourself, how you respond to rejection if it comes. You cannot control whether they stay, but you can control how you show up, how you love, how you let go. This is your kingdom, small in scope, infinite in depth. We spend our lives trying to control what cannot be controlled, and we wonder why we're exhausted. You check your phone again. Has the text come? You refresh the page. Has the status changed? You replay the conversation for the 100th time. Could you have said it differently? All of this energy, scattered, wasted, poured into things you cannot move by a single inch. Epictetus saw this clearly. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. The text that hasn't come is just a phone with no notification. Your judgment turns it into rejection, into proof you are unlovable, into a crisis. The job you didn't get is just a decision made by other people. Your judgment turns it into evidence of your failure, into confirmation that you will never succeed. Did you see? The thing itself is neutral. You are the one adding meaning. You are the one creating the suffering. This sounds harsh. It is meant to, because inside this harsh truth is the doorway to freedom. If you are the one creating the suffering, then you are also the one who can stop. How do you actually do this? Epictetus gave his students a specific practice. He called it the proper use of impressions. An impression is anything that strikes your mind, a thought, a perception, an emotion arising. Most people are carried away by impressions without examination. Something happens, a feeling surges, and they react automatically, unconsciously. The Stoic practice is to pause, to step back from the impression and examine it. When you are disturbed by events, Epictetus taught, remember to examine yourself and ask what faculty you possess for dealing with them. Someone insults you. Before rage takes hold, pause. What is actually happening here? Words entered the air, they struck your ears. Now your mind is creating a story. They meant to hurt you. They don't respect you. You must defend yourself. But is this story true? And even if it is, does their opinion actually affect what is yours? Can their words reach into your mind and rearrange your character? Of course not. Unless you let them, unless you forget the boundary. The practice is catching yourself in the moment and choosing what meaning to give. Imagine an archer. She has spent years perfecting her craft. Her bow is tuned, her arrow is straight, her form is flawless. She draws, she aims, she releases. And then a gust of wind takes the arrow wide of the target. Is she a failure? The Stoics would say, of course not. Everything within her power, the practice, the preparation, the focus, the execution, was done perfectly. The wind is not in her power. It never was. Epictetus puts it this way. What then should a man be prepared for every contingency? And how? By holding only to what is his own, and not claiming what is another's. You can prepare flawlessly for the interview. You cannot control the interviewer's mood. You cannot control that someone else has a connection inside the company. You cannot control the budget cut that eliminates the position. Your task is the arrow. The flight of the arrow belongs to the wind. When you confuse these two, when you take responsibility for the wind, you guarantee suffering. When you remember the distinction, you perform your best, release the arrow, and let it fly. Whatever happens next is information, not judgment. A man cuts you off in traffic. Your heart pounds, your jaw tightens. Words you would never say to his face run through your mind. For the next 20 minutes, maybe the next 2 hours, you replay it. You imagine confrontations. You catalogue his moral failures. Meanwhile, he has forgotten you entirely. He is eating lunch, laughing with a friend, living his life. You are the only one carrying this. You are poisoning only yourself. Epictetus asked his students, who then is invincible? The one who cannot be upset by anything outside their reasoned choice. Notice he does not say, the one who is never cut off in traffic. He says, the one who cannot be upset. The event happened. Someone drove poorly. That's all. Every single piece of your suffering after that. The racing heart, the tight jaw, the mental rehearsals, that is yours. You are creating it in real time. And you can stop, not by pretending it didn't happen, not by forcing positivity, but by examining the impression. What is actually true here? A car moved in front of mine. I had to brake. That's it. Everything else is a story I'm telling. And I can tell a different one. Or no story at all. How much of your life is lived for an audience? The clothes you choose, the words you measure, the achievements you chase, all of it shaped by the imagined eyes of others, their approval, their judgment, their opinion. Epictetus challenges this with devastating clarity. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. There is a dark humor here, but also a profound truth. Their opinion is theirs. It lives in their mind. It is shaped by their experiences, their wounds, their limitations. You have absolutely no control over it. They could spend their life thinking you are foolish or weak or wrong. So what? Can their thoughts reach inside you and change your character? Can their whispers alter your integrity? Can their disapproval touch anything that is actually yours? No, unless you give them that power. Unless you make their opinion your master, the man who lives for approval will never taste freedom. Because approval is a thing not in his power, and he has built his entire house on someone else's land. You hold your child, and somewhere beneath the love, there is fear, the knowledge that this moment will pass, that they will grow. That loss, in some form, is coming for everything you treasure. This is not morbid. This is awake. Epictetus taught his students to practice a specific meditation. With regard to whatever objects give you delight, are useful, or are deeply loved, remember to tell yourself of what general nature they are, beginning from the most insignificant things. If, for example, you are fond of a specific ceramic cup, remind yourself that it is only ceramic cups in general of which you are fond. Then if it breaks, you will not be disturbed. He continues, if you kiss your child or your wife, say that you only kiss things which are human, and thus you will not be disturbed if either of them dies. This sounds cold. It is the opposite of cold. It is the fullest love. Love without grasping. Love that holds tight in this moment while releasing any demand that the moment last forever. You cannot control how long they stay. You can only control how present you are while they're here. That is not less love. It is love freed from the terror of what it cannot change. You wanted the promotion. You didn't get it. Now what? Epictetus sees this differently than you might expect. He does not offer consolation, he offers transformation. Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. The obstacle is not blocking your path. The obstacle is the path. In every setback, there is material. Material to learn from. Material to grow through. Material to build the person you are becoming. What can you do with this? Not, what do you wish happened instead? That's useless. The promotion is gone. But right now, in this moment, what faculty do you possess for dealing with this? You have the power to examine, to learn what you might do differently, to find another door. You have the power to choose how you relate to this rejection. Does it define you? Does it reveal some ultimate truth about your worth? Or is it simply information? One employer decided you were not the right fit for one role at one moment in time. That is the fact. Everything else, the spiral of self-doubt, the catastrophizing about your future, that is your addition, and you can take it back. Epictetus spent part of his life as a literal slave. Yet, he taught this: no man is free who is not master of himself. The slave who controls his own mind is more free than the emperor controlled by his appetites. The prisoner who chooses his response to captivity is freer than the jailer consumed by fear and cruelty. This is not metaphor, it is observable truth. Think of the people you know with every external advantage, money, status, health, who are miserable, who rage against inconveniences, who require constant validation, who cannot sit still with their own thoughts. They are trapped in a prison they built themselves. The bars are their demands, that reality be other than it is. Now think of those who have faced genuine hardship, illness, loss, limitation, and carry a strange peace. Not denial, not performance, real peace. They found the boundary. They stopped fighting what they cannot control. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it, wrote Seneca, a Stoic companion to these ideas. We waste it fighting shadows. We waste it outside the circle of our power. Letting go is not giving up. This distinction matters. Giving up is abandoning what is in your power, refusing to act, collapsing into helplessness. Letting go is releasing what was never in your power, ceasing to clutch at wind. Epictetus makes the action clear. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happens the way it happens. Then you will be happy. This sounds like surrender. It is the opposite. It is alignment with reality. When you stop demanding that life conform to your preferences, you finally meet life as it actually is. And from that meeting, real action becomes possible. Not action based on frustration that things aren't different, action based on clear sight of what is. The recovering addict who finally stops wishing they weren't addicted and instead starts working with the truth of their situation. The parent who stops wishing their child were different and starts loving the child they actually have. The person facing mortality who stops bargaining with death and starts living the time that remains. Letting go is the beginning, not the end. How do you build this into a life? Not as philosophy you read once and forget, but as a practice you return to every single day. Epictetus recommended morning and evening reflection. In the morning, before you step into the chaos of the day, remind yourself, today I will encounter difficult people, I will face setbacks. Things will not go as planned. This is not pessimism. It is preparation. When difficulty comes, it will not surprise you. You will not waste energy on indignation that the world dared inconvenience you. In the evening, review. What have I done wrong? What duty have I left undone? What good have I done? Not to punish yourself, to see clearly, to learn. Between morning and evening, the practice of catching impressions. Notice when you're disturbed. Ask, is this in my power or not? If not, release it. If yes, act. That simple. That difficult. Epictetus told his students, every day you should call to mind this precept, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. Not because you deserve punishment, because you are the only one you can change. Constraints are not the enemy of freedom. They are often its birthplace. The poet writes in sonnet form, 14 lines, strict rhyme scheme, and somehow finds infinite expression. The musician works within 12 notes and creates endless beauty. Epictetus, who knew constraint more intimately than most, understood this paradox. Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself. You are in a job you cannot leave. Good. What faculty do you possess for dealing with that? You are in a body that doesn't work the way you wish. Good. What can you do with what is working? The question is never, why is this happening to me? The question is, what will I do now that this is happening? One is a victim's question. The other is a philosopher's. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, said, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. He was not a Stoic, but he found the same truth. The boundary Epictetus drew 2,000 years earlier. Even in extremity, something remains yours. None of this is new. That's the strange thing. When Epictetus says, it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things, you nod. Of course. Obviously. When he says you cannot control other people's opinions, only your own responses, you think, yes, I know this. Then why do you forget it 12 times a day? Why does the insult still land? Why does the fear still grip? Why does the obsession with what cannot be changed still consume your nights? Because knowing and practicing are not the same thing. Because the mind has grooves worn by years of habit. Because the culture around you constantly reinforces the opposite message, that you should control outcomes, that you deserve to have reality match your preferences, that your worth is measured by external results. Epictetus was relentless on this point. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. The reading is not the practice. The practice is catching yourself in the moment, pausing, examining, choosing 1,000 times, 10,000 times, until it becomes less like effort and more like breathing. But what about them? If I stop trying to control outcomes, does that mean I stop caring? Does that mean I become passive while the world burns? Epictetus would say, you misunderstand the teaching. What is not in your power, whether they change, whether they listen, whether your efforts produce the results you want, what is in your power, showing up fully, acting with integrity, doing what is yours to do. Keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your own concern, and be clear that what belongs to others is their business and none of yours. This sounds cold. It is actually generous. When you stop trying to control other people, you can finally see them. You can finally love them without demand. You can speak truth without needing them to agree. The parent who tries to control their adult child's choices poisons the relationship. The parent who states their values, loves unconditionally, and releases the outcome. That parent remains connected. You can influence, you can model, you can show up. But the other person's response is theirs, and trying to grab it will only push them away. Most of your suffering lives in time. Regret about the past, anxiety about the future, neither of which exist right now. This moment, this breath, this heartbeat, these words entering your mind, this is real. The past is a story you tell yourself. The future is a story you imagine. Both are constructions, useful sometimes, binding always. Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. What is in your power is only ever now. You cannot act in the past, you cannot act in the future. You can only act here. The regret about what you said last week, that lives in memory, which lives in your mind, which is in your power, you can choose to set it down. The fear about what might happen tomorrow, that lives in imagination, which lives in your mind, which is in your power, you can choose to set that down too. What remains is this breath, this choice, this moment of being awake. That is more than enough. It is in fact everything. You will forget this. Tomorrow something will happen, and you will react automatically. You will suffer over what is not in your power. You will waste energy fighting shadows. This is not failure. This is the path. Epictetus himself said, progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily. The goal is not to be perfectly stoic by Thursday. The goal is to catch yourself a little faster, to spend a little less time in unnecessary suffering, to draw the boundary a little clearer each day. You are not building a fortress. You are building a practice, a way of meeting life that becomes more natural over time. Some days, you will forget entirely. You will be hijacked by impression, carried away by fear, lost in obsession with what cannot be changed. And then you will remember. And you will come back. That coming back is the practice, not never leaving, always returning. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we have infinite opportunities to wake up. Each moment is a new beginning, even this one. So here you are, 3 in the morning, or whenever you find yourself. The ceiling is still there, the thoughts are still circling, the weight is still present. But now you have a tool, not to make the weight disappear. That was never promised, but to see it clearly, to ask what part of this is mine. The things outside the circle, let them go, not because they don't matter, not because you don't care, but because grasping them produces only suffering. Never change. Your grip on what you cannot control does not alter it by a single degree. It only exhausts you. The things inside the circle, hold them firmly. Your judgments, your responses, your choices, your effort. This is your kingdom. No one can enter it without permission. Epictetus, the former slave, found this freedom. He lived it until his final breath, and he passed it forward, across 2,000 years until it reached you, here, now. Draw the boundary. Release what you must. Hold what is yours. And live finally as a free person. These are the echoes of Epictetus, and they were always meant for you.